The Battle of Kamino was meant to be a major turning point in the war, but after the Jedi foiled Grievous's plans once again, let's just say I don't think he got a promotion. But what if instead the droids pushed through, overtaking Tapaco City and halting clone production entirely? In this video, I'll explore how in this alternate timeline this battle would be won, how the Sith would work alongside Thrawn who would join them, and if the lack of clones would be able to keep up the galaxy for long. So how would they even win the battle? Well, in the original event, Anakin and Obi-Wan intercepted a transmission between Ventress and Grievous discussing the planned battle at hand. So in this version, let's just say that all the Jedi never discovered this signal, and that after the success of the commando droids at the Rishi Moon Station the year prior, Ventress would swap out her Aqua droid forces with exclusively commando droids, creating an unstoppable fighting force. As Shaak Ti and Commander Colt oversee the platforms of the training station Clone Home, they receive an alert as a munificent ship among many other munificent ships enter the Kamino space, and a space battle begins overhead, producing loud booms and crashing sounds as debris from the Separatist ships dives into the ocean below. But little do the clones realize until far too late that these pieces of debris are actually disguised Trident-class assault craft, which then, under the leading of Ventress, spring into the air, attaching into the city from all angles. So then, hundreds of BX battle droids begin marching into the buildings of the cloners, and then Grievous would break through the meager blockade, adding his own army against the Republic too.
Sergeant, the game of a ride. There are no reinforcements short of. Isn't it? Look out. They're coming in from outside. One last charge for the Republic.
Commandos would break deep into the DNA centers and clone barracks, destroying training ground, scientific discoveries, and more in the process, while leaving the bodies of clones scattered about. Admittedly, the boys did a pretty good job defending their home, fighting to the last breath, but would still be decimated by these overwhelming amounts. About halfway through the battle, Generals Anakin and Obi-Wan would arrive with their Venators at Kamino to assist in the battle, but would for the most part be too late, as 90% of the defenders at this point were killed, and then after landing, most of their Venators were shot down too, crashing into Tapaco City and creating even more destruction. However, Anakin would also be captured by Ventress after trying to duel her amidst the overwhelming odds, and Obi-Wan would actually be shot down alongside Rex and Cody when they made a last stand at one of the suspended bridges that connected multiple buildings when some super battle droids advanced on them from all sides. With the leadership mostly defeated, the last clones were hunted out and killed in the lower levels of the city. And you know what that sounds like, another Star Wars horror game idea, since I randomly have a bunch of those ever since I did that Liminal Spaces video. But anyway, Ventress acquired some of the sample DNA of the clones before the entire facility was plunged into the water. With this, the Republic was forced to rely on the clones that already were in use around the galaxy, as well as some secret Kaminoan sites located on some medical stations, and also Coruscant, which produced only a quarter of the amount of troops that were originally existing in the remainder of the Clone Wars. Anyway, Grievous and Ventress would double their efforts, with Grievous conquering much of the core worlds, while Ventress split off and massacred the Outer Rim. As the Republic was pushed back more and more, they stopped having opportunities to fight battles in the Outer Rim, like at Umbara, where Republic forces led by Aayla Secura were crushed, resulting in another clone legion being obliterated. But then by 20 BBY, two hugely important events would happen. One was a mission led by Mace Windu, where he attempted to save Anakin from Sereno, where he was captured, but while this was happening, Count Dooku himself led a battle to retake Ryloth, in which he struck deals with local politicians like Orn Free Taa, who added their own resistance, and then Tyrannus would bring 3 Providence-class dreadnoughts in, where he would quickly win the space battle, and then lead a ground offense where he would use his lightsaber to cut through clones and also Twi'lek patriots, leading to a last stand from Cham Syndulla. Count Dooku. I knew I sensed a foul presence here. No, not. Ryloth is not some pampered core world that will just sit back and let you invade us. Actually, I think that's exactly what you'll do. Well, no, we've dealt with you Seppies once, and we'll deal with you again. My dear Cham, I think you forget I am more than a mere separatist. But while Dooku was occupied here, Ventress would sense the disturbance of Mace attacking Sereno with the 187th Legion, in which they rig LAAT gunships with hyperdrives developed by desperate Republic scientists that would blast them into the surface past the blockade, where Windu and Pons overtake the personal forces of Dooku at his palace, made up of primarily Magna Guards. Then after fighting through them, Mace walks up to Skywalker's cell, stepping over the sizzled droids, while Commander Pons covers for him. Mace opens the cell door as the lights turn on around him, and in there is Anakin in some sort of black metal armor with now a buzz cut. However, while this is happening, Asajj Ventress breaks through the glass with her 2 lightsabers before force pushing the glass shards into Pons, killing him and sending the clone flying out over the balcony. Then Mace releases Skywalker, who lands on his knee with a thud. The lost Jedi slowly gets up, looking at both Mace and then Ventress, but Skywalker yells out with a forced scream, crumbling the walls around him and then ripping the rest of the palace above them off into the cliff below. He starts to breathe heavy in rage and brings his arms in towards himself as if to reach out with the Force. Wait, Anakin, don't do this. Don't forget that it was they who took your life. They who killed Obi-Wan. I've been tortured, imprisoned, and buried here, but yes, you're right, Master. It is their fault. Come on, Skywalker, let's get out of here as friends, just like old times. So be it. So then Skywalker channels this force into a push at Ventress, which sends her barreling into a column surrounded by rubble. Then she orders hundreds of battle droids to march onto their level, where Mace and Anakin, 2 of the most powerful Jedi in the galaxy at this point, mow through them with ease. Then while they are occupied with this, Ventress would pull out her holo projector and contact Dooku, saying that the Jedi prisoner is escaping. My lord, while you've been occupied on Ryloth, the Jedi came here to free the asset. I tried to stop them, but it's Master Windu of all people who came for the little pet Skywalker. Yes, Ventress, I know. You see, this was in fact a test to see if I could rely on you. A test to see if you're ready to ascend with us to the next era of galactic history. A test that you failed. Dooku was in fact waiting above in space aboard one of his dreadnoughts with Grievous. Corporal, ready the weapon. Set target for my palace.
But Count, won't that kill Ventress?
Yes, a small price to pay for the deaths of Skywalker and Windu, and also karma for her own failure. Then, the ship, specifically fitted with an early design of the Death Star laser being constructed by the Geonosians under Dooku's command, would be primed before firing into the planet, destroying an area large enough to evaporate the forest with Dooku's palace, taking Anakin, Mace Windu, and Ventress with it. At the same time, the hidden explosives in Palpatine's office would go off, as Dooku had begun to sense his master's deception and had decided at this point to knock him out of the way of the CIS conquest of the galaxy. This takes us to the last year of the war, where the tactical genius Thrawn would actually help Grievous to take over the core worlds as effectively as possible. Thrawn had decided to switch to the CIS side since he saw the tide turning, which made him respect the commanders of the droid army more, that they were able to overthrow a galactic republic. However, as the Jedi do everything that they possibly can to defend, they are driven closer and closer to a final battle on Coruscant. Even with this, in some last effort attempts, they would secure minor conflicts at planets like Utapau, Kashyyyk, and Megiddo, proving to be some of the last battles of the war. Meanwhile, Grievous relishes at the idea of him leading the offensive into the capital. And I mean, just imagine how much of an ego boost this would be for Grievous. Even if it's probably Thrawn doing all the heavy lifting, literally. Finally, it arrives. The Battle of Coruscant. With it is a massive fleet of separatist ships which enter the system and engage in conflict with the massive Republic defense that contains the majority of the remaining Venators, and the battle proves to be the biggest one of the war yet, as the Republic calls in almost all of their navy to lock with the CIS navy that itself is huge at this point. Also, multiple Jedi generals who are there, like Yoda, Ahsoka, who recently passed her trials at a younger age, and also Kit Fisto defending the surface to the last breath. Almost a parallel to the Kamino conflict years earlier, which wasn't even as intense as this monstrosity. Surprisingly, the two sides would basically destroy each other, causing hundreds of capital ships to break up in the atmosphere, raining debris on the civilians and infantry below. One chunk of a Venator would crash into the left wing of the Senate building, ripping it down, while some engines would land around the Jedi Temple, sending it up in flames. Ultimately, the Jedi generals and remaining clones are pushed onto the last Venator, which starts to leave the system. But Grievous would intercept this ship with multiple landing craft entering through the hangar. Then Grievous would face off against the Jedi at the hangar floor.
Grievous, you may think you've beaten us, but your overconfidence will once again be your downfall. Fight us if you dare.
Master Jedi, it would be rude of me not to introduce my friends, bred from the stolen DNA of Kamino.
No.
Yes, Fisto, meet your doom.
At this point, the separatist-bred clone troopers developed from the stolen DNA on Kamino would exit the landing craft with black Phase 2 armor and unique visors too, with Grievous's Legion having green markings across their armor and making him proud to finally have better warriors at his hands than the droids he always felt humiliated by. They march up past the droid general and then begin firing at the Jedi from all sides. While having a different training and therefore different fighting style, the clones still were just as effective as those of the Republic and were able to knock down all of the low-level Jedi with ease before Yoda in a fighting frenzy would fight back and put up a good fight alongside Kit Fisto and young Ahsoka. As the last of the Jedi are being dealt with by his clones, Grievous speaks into his comlink connected to Darth Tyrannus. You see, when Dooku assassinated Palpatine months earlier, he discovered also that Sidious had a secret plot to destroy the Jedi and unveiled Order 66 when researching the clone DNA that was taken from Kamino. So Dooku now gives the command, and all the remaining Jedi around the galaxy, including Utapau, are shot down by the clones under the command of Dooku. This also means the Jedi who were starting to fight back against the CIS-trained clones are now overwhelmed when the normal clones join in to butcher the Masters. This means that Yoda, Ahsoka, and Kit, along with the others, are killed, ending the Clone Wars. What happens after this, you ask? Well, something probably. Okay, well, that would be too abrupt, but seriously, I don't feel like putting another epilogue on a what if that's just a copy and paste of all the other epilogues, minus a few details. Also, I purposefully made sure to avoid Palps in this episode, as I'm getting kind of tired of doing his voice every what if, even if I am good at it. But anyway, that's it for this video. You can subscribe if you want to. You guys can also join now. Obviously you don't have to, it's completely optional, but that would really help out the channel. And also know that I am doing a face reveal at 10,000 subscribers, so make sure to stick around for that. But yeah, I upload every Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I also post shorts on Saturday. But yeah, see ya.